What up? Welcome everybody to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me I have some more RPG horror stories. Guys, gals, anybody in between. If I was a gacha character, you know, like a gacha character, like where you roll for characters and stuff. If I was a gacha character, what would be my rank? Am I just rare? Am I super rare? Am I super rare? What am I? Let me know down in the comments below. Actually, can we put all the RPG horror stories YouTubers into a gacha game and have us be ranked out? I think that'd be amazing. A tier list to see how many of us are like which specific ranking in a gacha. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. DM has a DMPC and also a sex dungeon. Well, one of these things is not like the other. Let's go ahead and start this story. This happened a few years ago, and I think about it, this campaign, and the characters all the time. The campaign was set in a world where some of the magical disaster happened about 20-ish years ago. And because of this disaster, the sky was ripped open and the government banned all magic. The party consisted of ASMR Paladin, Tiefling Cleric, Dragonborn Monk, Eladrin Sorcerer, Tabaxi Bard, Elf Warlock, and I was a Changeling Rogue. A party with mostly casters. Interesting. It's a lot of players, but for the most part, our characters worked really well together. And while we did have conflict, it was really fun role-playing it out. Start of the drama happened before the beginning of the campaign. I wanted to be a Changeling explicitly because I was a non-magical race. As the DM, if Changelings shifted forms was considered magical, he told me no. Cut to the opening session, and we're all being arrested for different reasons. We're on a prison ship being sent to a horrible prison island. We all have collars on that stop magic, and the DM introduces my character in her Changeling form. So I wasn't able to have my dramatic reveal. Not the worst so far, but it gets bad. The Warlock and I created our backstories together. We were supposed to have been together for at least a year before we met the rest of the party. DM and the Warlock had this weird relationship outside of the game, where the Warlock player was not interested in the DM, but DM clearly wanted something to happen between them. DM gave the Warlock, while we were still wearing the collars, a demon shadow wolf that was the embodiment of her god, and this dog was a DMPC. For some reason, the dog hated me and would literally attack me for no reason in game. Anyways, Warlock was able to summon the dog while we were on a ship, and it did help us escape. A couple of sessions later, we're traveling in a cart down a road. Suddenly, a demon that is way higher level than us jumps out and attacks us. First time I attack, I roll a 17. He doesn't hit. Turns out I have to roll a 19 or higher on the dice to reach this guy's AC. We were below level 5. Oh my sweet summer child, I think you'd be stuck with a DMPC that's specifically gonna try to make you guys lose at all turns. Unless it's for the fellow Warlock and stuff. Why does a Warlock get a Shadow Wolf? I mean, it's cool to get a Shadow Wolf and everything, but why specifically do they have like a perchance against you because they have an inclination for Warlock? Listen, you can be attracted to somebody, sure, but keep that out of game and everything and don't bleed into the game. That sounds like DM is just bleeding the wolf pet into the game and just using that to basically punish the Changeling for no reason whatsoever, not that I can see at least. But let's continue. DM had some sort of obsession with demons because literally every single character I saw this guy play was some sort of a demon. He did not like losing either. A level or two later, we found ourselves invited to a gala. We have to go because this is a piece of the sky that we're trying to find in order to fix the sky. The demon gives us a week's notice to come up with outfit ideas for the gala. Fun, right? I wanted a flowing iridescent dress so that it would change colors, kind of like a changeling. DM said no. This will look too magical. Anyways, Tabaxi... Wait, hold on. So, something looking too magical is apparently not allowed because magic is banned in the world. What's the point of living in this kind of drab, boring world in the first place? Also, there's a lot of different outfits that literally change within different appearances without needing any sort of magic. It's called literally manufacturing. It's when literally you just create manufacturing tricks so that dresses can be like, or outfits can be like inside and outside kind of outfits. It's not rocket science. You're just manufacturing. Oh, just because we can't have something creative because it looks too magical? That's ridiculous. Guys, this is just from me to you. Don't play in a campaign where magic is outlawed. Just don't. Just literally do not. Unless everybody's only allowed to play as martial classes. But even then, that'd be so boring. That'd be so drab and boring. What does everybody do? Oh, you attack and extra attack? Cool. That's everybody's turns then. Oh, rogue, you do sneak attack? Wow, so cool and original. Wow, we get to do this for 20 levels. Wow. So stupid, dude. Anyways, the Tabaxi Bard had a mask that literally looked like moving waves of sand. He approved that, but not mine. Whatever, you're just a dumb dress. I'll get over it. No, it's not a dumb dress. No, don't get over it. I feel like that's a perfect moment to call the DM out. You can have a flowing dress, but Tabaxi can have a moving waves masks? What? And apparently yours is too magical, but not Tabaxi's? I think this DM has a perchance against you. They have a bias and agenda against you, mostly because you and Warlock player character decided to make character player. Either way, you and Warlock decided to basically make conjoined stories together. Maybe because you guys are buddies from, I don't know, from forever ago or something. You decided just to make joint stories together. But now this DM has specific like hate boner against you. This is a perfect time to call them out and say, hey, why rules for me but not for thee or the Tabaxi and stuff? Why is that, DM? Listen, if you don't voice anything, if you don't put the problem out on the table, nobody will know there's a problem whatsoever. I feel like some things need to be addressed at the end of the day. Maybe outside of game, maybe after the game. But like, if there's some sort of problem going on with some sort of bullshit is happening, you need to address this sort of thing and actually point it out. I feel like at least something like this needs to be pointed out. Otherwise, it would just never get fixed. If you just let the DMs go, oh, DM did something bad, oh, just let it go. I just let it be. I won't say anything. You do it more than enough, then you end up having a horrible time in a campaign. Let me tell you. Session where we attend the gala happens. All is well. We actually managed to come up with a plan, and we executed it perfectly. Too perfectly. The next week, the DM retcons the entire session because we defeated his boss too quickly. We redo it and continue on, although at this point, most of us were upset. I don't remember if this was the next session or there was a couple in between, but the nail in the coffin was a sex dungeon that none of us wanted to partake in. Made everyone so uncomfortable, and we'll stop playing after that. I'm actually kind of lucky I legit disassociated during that session. I don't remember it at all. Imagine the DM being so unhappy you guys did things too well, so you're forced to redo the entire session just so they can change up some of the mechanics left and right. Look, dude, if you already set up the session, it's already done, move on from there. Clearly your players aren't interested in having to redo the entire session just because they did a little bit too well. If sometimes players are just rolling extremely well, you let them succeed. You let it happen. Yeah, they're gonna be rolling a bunch of natural 20s and stuff and rolling really well and gonna make a fight into a cakewalk. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes the dice are just not in your favor. And then there are games, the players are constantly rolling extremely low and you're rolling a lot of natural 20s. I've just recently experienced a game like that where I'm constantly, as a DM, constantly rolling nat 20s all the time against players. And we're playing through VTT Foundry. I'm not doing anything specific to the dice. The dice are out in the open at the end of the day and we're just rolling with what is going on. Dice are like that sometimes, but also there's no problem and no issue with letting players succeed. Sometimes it's okay to let your players succeed so they can move on to the more fun parts of the game at the end of the day. Force them to redo something just because they had fun and you apparently were like, this is too easy, you gotta redo it again. Why? See, I wish the players would have said, no, we're not redoing it, we did so good, let us move on to the next part, please. The nail in the coffin is definitely the sex dungeon. I guess nobody got nailed. Haha, the only nail in the coffin is not DM nailing anybody because of the sex dungeon. No? Okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah, either way, this DM sucks. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story for today. DM sexually harasses me in Discord DMs. At the time of this story, I was about 20, maybe freshly 21. I just moved states and about a year into living there, a game store opened at the mall I was at. I've been going there as a customer for a long time, and now work there. It's got its pros and cons. Story is like 2 years ago, so the specific details are a little hazy, but of course I remember all the things he told me. I consider myself an attractive woman. By most incel/nerd male demographic, I'm probably hitting goddess status and looks. Now, I don't say this in a way to boast about myself, but it's somewhat important to this story. I've been going to my new local game store daily, if I could, and never played D&D IRL since I lived in the previous state. It was on and off playing D&D to where I never attempted to visit the local game store. I'd gotten work from the owner, and someone was looking for some players via the store's Discord server, and I was ecstatic. I joined, we had a date, and time for session 0. Now, for people's names, obviously changing to keep identities hidden, the DM John, the owner of the store Paul, the only real 2 important people. John had 2 sons, but they're not relevant enough to the story to give them names. We were going to play a module, Descent into Avernus, which I was thrilled to play a module for the first time, having been in mostly online homebrew groups for 2-ish years by this point. So we exchanged discords, make a server specific to the group. That's where things started to fall. I made a death domain cleric. TLDR, he was an old man who was major sadist and pretended to worship a god, but actually worshipped another one. Also a man character, and thank God I went with a male character for this group. I also was the only female in the group, which I'm used to as nerd-like games are pretty male-dominated. We meet up with the first session. I like to sit in the same spot every time I go play D&D, and still do to this day, and it's right to the DM right next to them. Every time someone went to cast a spell, specifically his kids who were I think 16 and 12, they would ask what the spell does, and I always happened to have the answer. DM did not, which held weird silences. After this, scheduling became a little fuzzy. John starts to DM me, talking to me about his divorce. Oh, but he is going to lose his kids. Reminder, I'm 20 to 21, and he's probably late 40s, maybe 50s. I tell him I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure what you want me to do about it, but he continued. I remember playing a VR game at home and getting spammed by him about him and his wife's divorce. Oh no, your DM is now venting to you and literally trauma dumping on you just because you're a woman at the table. Talk about the divorce. What's the point? Dude, I kind of feel like John should go to a therapist. John, have you considered going to a therapist or talking to some sort of professional about this sort of thing instead of just harassing your player over this sort of thing? Also, yeah, I, as somebody who plays VR games, I also too find it a little bit annoying. If I'm in VR chat doing my thing, somebody just spam me away in Discord and stuff. You know what I've done? You know what I've done forever ago, and I honestly recommend everybody to do? Turn off all audio notifications for your Discord. Just all of them. Every single one of them. Do not have any audio notifications. No little... It's just so annoying at this point. It's just so annoying. Especially if I'm in VR and I really don't want to answer any kind of calls or DMs and stuff. Just let me be. Leave me alone. I couldn't care less. Just don't bother and bug me whatsoever, please. Mary has her notifications on and drives me nuts, honestly. I don't know how she can exist with her notifications on. She's part of like a ton of servers already. I have no idea how she's able to process any of this. I go to Paul, which I saw as a father figure, and still do, and talk to him about what was happening, especially with him being the owner of the store. He told me that it's really weird and asked if I wanted him to say anything to John. I told him no, that this behavior is pretty common for me being a nerdy woman in a group full of men who probably have never made eye contact with a woman before. Few more weeks pass. Sessions go as usual. I'm being the co-DM in helping with spellcasts, how things work, and just knowing things off the top of my head. John's youngest son was a murder hobo every session, and John just let it slide since he was his son. His eldest son was an absolute dear, and I still feel happy seeing him every once in a while when he comes to the store. Eventually, John starts getting a little flirty with me, saying, "I'm surprised how cute you were. I wasn't expecting you to look that pretty," and other comments like this, which was all relayed to Paul, but I persisted on continuing to play, desperate for that need for IRL D&D. Girl, no D&D is better than bad D&D. Unfortunately, I feel like this is going to be one of those stories where you experience that specific saying firsthand, and I apologize ahead of time, but let's go ahead and continue. Also, I feel like maybe you probably should have said something early on. Like, it's cool that you want to play D&D and everything, but I kind of feel like maybe this was a perfect time to say, hey John, boundaries, let's establish them. I'm not comfortable with this specific approach. Please, let's talk, you know, in a platonic way and as a DM and player and not in any specific way, please. I mean, getting compliments is fine. There's nothing wrong with getting compliments. But if he's constantly talking about his divorce and stuff, I feel like some sort of a line needs to be drawn and say, John, please don't talk to me about the divorce. I'm sorry you're going through a lot, but I don't think this is the kind of conversation you should be having with a random stranger, which you guys are strangers. You're a player in this game, but you guys know nothing about each other whatsoever, which makes sense to put perhaps some sort of boundaries in this situation. If that gets him upset and kicks you out of the party because of that, because trying to establish boundaries, then maybe it was just best not to play with this kind of guy in the first place. Spoiler alerts, probably wasn't good time to play with this guy, continuing playing with this guy the whole time anyway. That was until one day John was messaging me and talking as he did. The divorce, his kids, having to go to court, not wanting to not be able to see his kids, etc, etc. I continued my I'm sorries to him, then we got into talking D&D. He started saying about how grateful he was for me to be there, since I've been helping him a lot. I told him it's no issue, spend too much time playing or studying D&D in my free time. Then hits me with, you're like a damn screen, but with better boobs. What? 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 Wow, can't believe it. He literally just... He sees you as a DM screen with tits. Guys, learn from this guy. Do not ever do this specific thing. Girls, women in the world. If somebody tells you you're just a DM screen with tits, run away, please. Jesus Christ, dude. What kind of a fucking rizz is that? Jesus Christ. That was my final straw. It made me feel so uncomfortable. At the time, I had little weight on me, so I was always so conscious of my chest since I felt it was proportional to my body size and height to be pointed out. Not the first time by other people. Made me feel so disgusted, especially considering his age. I told Paul, showed him the messages, and he DM'd John telling him he was banned from the store and isn't allowed to step foot in the store again. Paul then invited me into his Saturday group, and I joined. I loved it since. Granted, this isn't the only horror story from D&D and this one is just gross. Paul and I made jokes about it for a few weeks after the fact, mostly talking about how he thinks that his behavior was probably the reason the two got a divorce in the first place. He might be on a predatory list. I look younger than I am, especially in the face, so when older men try with me, it feels extra creepy. I mean, regardless of your appearance, at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem here is John literally has no understanding of what boundaries are or what's reasonable and everything. Dude is trying to throw some sort of a cringy rizz line just because he's going through divorce. Listen, you go through divorce, the last thing you should be doing is trying to rizz up somebody else, especially a stranger at your table that literally you don't know anything about. Maybe one thing, if let's say, for example, you guys got close and got to know each other and stuff, then maybe something like that would probably, I mean, no, actually, never mind. Honestly, there's no hope. Even if you guys were like bestest of friends, if let's say, for example, God forbid, if I was a woman and I knew somebody for years and years and years upon end, and they hit me with that rizz line, I probably want to just not want to interact with them in any capacity whatsoever. To say something like this to an absolute stranger is absolutely diabolical. Like, what the hell, dude? Calling somebody a DM screen with tits. Wow, what amazing rizz line. Incredible, John. No wonder you're getting a divorce. Jesus Christ, dude. Honestly, I think the guy should just take a break and just focus on his divorce, honestly. Probably. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I'm sorry I had to deal with that, OP, because that sucks, dude. That sucks. Anyway, hopefully you didn't have to deal with anything more afterwards. But yeah, I don't really have much to say. It's just John is just a weirdo, I guess. Can't believe it. You just a DM screen with tits. Jesus Christ, dude. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.